Friday, the official start of the weekend. Good morning. Thank God it's Friday. It is the 10th day of May 2019, and welcome to the final edition of the Star Good Morning Show for this week. I am Leonora Jawara, and African proverb for today says, a set of white teeth does not indicate a pure heart. Top stories we shall be looking in the program today: Sierra Leone's economic history and minerals development confirms the difficulties in ensuring that mineral development produces broader economic development and growth for the country, according to the Vice President, Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow. The Deputy Minister of Information and Communication, Lawyer Solomon Jamiru, while officially opening a series of training seminar for journalists, has called for enhanced self-regulation, noting that there is a lot to do in terms of skills deficits of journalists. Stakeholders of the Madingo Union has officially presented the newly endorsed president of the Madingo Union, Alhaji Kanja Sise, to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Maria Biwa. All these and more coming up shortly. With me in the studio is the communication press in the National Commission for Democracy, Reverend Jibrila Kagbo. He will be talking to me on efforts to building national cohesion and its wider benefits to the nation. Good morning, Reverend, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for hosting me.
Welcome. And remember, the Star Good Morning Show is sponsored by Rokel Commercial Bank. We shall be right back.
Sim Couple allow old and young to make deposit and withdraw cash from their account at any time and anywhere. With Rokel Commercial Bank SIM Couple, you can send and receive money at any place and any time. Rokel Commercial Bank don't make life better for we all.
Six minutes gone past the hour 9. Let's begin the show with the first news item. Now, the Vice President, Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow, during the launch of the 3 mineral sector policies, has said Sierra Leone's economic history and mineral development confirms the difficulties in ensuring that mineral development produces broader economic development and growth for the country, and the growth trajectory of advanced economies follow the path of primary production through manufacturing and full industrialization. Abdul Rahman Kamara compiled this report.
Today is the month of Ramadan, and God will help us to implement these policies, and that God will help us that we get the best out of these policies.
Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow, while officially launching the 3 mineral sector policies, has said the overreaching objective of the geodata policy is to position Sierra Leone as a data-rich jurisdiction by defining and clarifying the management and governance of geodata and information as critical basis from which minerals, oil and gas shall be explored and developed. He intimated that the policy bring into focus issues of transparency and accountability, anti-corruption efforts, disclosure of beneficial ownership, human rights issues, mineral rights acquisition, and fiscal regime.
With this policy, government will promote sustainable artisanal mining practices, enhance environmental protection, integrate community and occupational health and safety guards in that sector. Equally, this policy will help transform the artisanal sector into an ecosystem that will help feed diverse local economic activities as well. The geodata management policy of Sierra Leone creates a framework for accessing and management of geodata on a national scale that will enhance investment predictability, competitive bidding for mineral, oil and gas exploration. I must say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a clear and detailed outlook of mineral resources has huge potential for driving investment in that sector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this stage, let me say that these 3 policies present a comprehensive pathway to a promising prospect of an improved governance of the mineral sector, because we believe that improved governance in this sector, as I've already indicated, will enhance government capacity to harness the dividends from this sector.
The Minister of Mines and Mineral Resources, Professor Mori Manie, noted that the key rationale for the new mines and mineral policy that covers the management of all mineral rights in the country and include activities throughout the mineral value chain, from the collection of geoscience data and geological survey work up to and including the processing and exporting of minerals.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will remember that President Julius Maada Bio made the point about mining and mining activities and about changing the current Mines and Minerals Act which governs our operations. There are gaps. That is why we have these policies. They may not provide all the answers. In fact, I don't think they provide all the answers. But they have come a long way to narrowing the gap between mining as we would like it to be, some of us, and mining as it is.
He revealed that the new policy does not cover the oil and gas sector, quarrying and groundwater resources, adding that the policy gives limited coverage to artisanal and small-scale mining for a separate AM policy. Professor Mori Manie maintained that enhanced intergovernmental agency and multi-stakeholder coordination and collaboration is critical to ensuring transparency and accountability, inclusive and effective governance of the mineral sector.
Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, I think I speak for myself and the Honorable Vice President and the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Chairman of the Minerals Advisory Board and every other person, everybody who lives in a mining community, wants to think, certainly in Kono, that our minerals have been a curse. We are looking for chaos, and I hope these mineral policy documents will put us on the right path towards a cure for our curse. I thank you all.
The policy, according to the Minister of Mines and Mineral Resources, Professor Manie, shall ensure appropriate categorization and sharing of geodata and related mapping and other information become legal requirements integral to exploration and mining operations. Sierra Leone's economic history and minerals development confirms the difficulties in ensuring that mineral development produces broader economic development and growth for the country. The primary geodata management policy objectives with respect to the minerals, oil and gas, according to the minister, are to clarify types of geodata, strengthen the geodata legislative framework, and ensure improved geodata acquisition and analysis. The growth trajectory of advanced economies followed a path of primary production through manufacturing and full industrialization. Compiled by Abdul Rahman Kamara, read by Leonora Jawara. Alright, welcome back, and you're still watching the Star Good Morning Show. Reverend Jibrila Kagbo is with me in the studio. We're looking at national cohesion. Welcome again, Reverend.
Thank you.
For first, how can you analyze the current state of national unity and cohesion across the country?
Well, in all honesty, it's quite challenging, and we have the evidence, the signs are clear that Sierra Leone is still a divided country. We just returned from the 2018 elections, and we saw the deep divide even in terms of the result. The nation almost splitting into two in terms of determining who is the winner and the loser, with our current president, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, emerging as the winner. And it's important that we make conscious effort to look into that aspect of our national governance. And when you take your time to reflect on the nation's history, you know at a time like this, conscious effort should be made to bring people together. It's some people are going to give you a different picture, and some people might even say it depends on who you are talking to, and that is what will produce the kind of result or the answer that is expected from certain people. But as far as I know, Sierra Leone needs a lot of togetherness. The aftermath of the elections, up till now, the main opposition does not see eye to eye with the ruling government, and that is serious. In a multi-ethnic country, when where you have a situation wherein people, their allegiance mostly to political parties is based on probably where you are coming from, things like that, you know that there is need for us to look at national cohesion and unity from a serious perspective, so that all of us can come together. Different people with different shades of opinion can come together and address the issues bedeviling the nation. And it's important to come together when you consider the fact that a nation that is not united, a nation that is divided, it's difficult for such a nation to make significant progress. Because if you have one group of people making conscious effort to move forward, you have others who are holding them back. And that is not good for development. And 58 years down the line since independence, at times you are tempted to ask the question, what do we have to show for that? And part of the problem is that we are looking at a nation that is somewhat fragmented, a nation that is divided on different lines, sectional, partisan, regional, tribal, etc. But we need to fix this problem. It has to be now. I don't want to use the word never, but it has to be now, because we can't keep waiting. We can't keep prolonging or delaying our national development. And when we know that it's hinging on national unity and cohesion, then all of us must embrace national unity and cohesion and move our nation forward.
Okay. I've just been joined in the studio by Dr. Jonathan Sandi. He's also here to talk about the same national cohesion, just like Reverend Jibrila. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. I was just asking Reverend to analyze the current state of national cohesion and unity across the country. What's your own take?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the invitation, and my take is, both as chairman and leader of my party and a Sierra Leonean, it is clear that there's a need for us to work to what we call a national integration process. When I was stepping in, I overheard my brother Reverend Jibril Kabo and making comment on the level of divisiveness in terms of where we are. But as a politician, I have often, and as one who has also been leading political parties and was a former presidential candidate, it is clear that after 2018 elections, we have not managed what we call post-2018 election healing and national reconciliation process. So for me, I clearly, based on both national and international experience, it is clear that we have not dealt with the software. We tend to be moving towards talking more about hardware issues, but the software, I mean, is that there's increased level of acrimony, increased level of hate, suspicion, distrust, even among political parties. And therefore, how do we ensure that if you watch the composition of political parties from all other institutions in this country, whether civil society group, the media, the state, and you realize that political parties are the platform which are supposed to enhance national integration in terms of, because before you register a political party, or those of us who are there, you must ensure that the requirement, the criteria, is sensitive to regionalism, to tribalism, gender issues, religion. So that is how you have to meet those criteria before you, a set of people, qualified to establish a political party. But once we get our membership in terms of regional balance, you fulfill that from every 16 districts, you get all those names. The big question is, from independent, as my brother was saying, have we been able to enhance that function of political parties in terms of how has, if we take stock of how has political parties enhanced national integration, national unity and social cohesion, it's where the dilemma is. And therefore it has far-reaching consequences on economic prosperity. And therefore we are very clear in our mind as political parties when we started this process since September last year. And we are very grateful to the National Commission for Democracy and the Ministry of Political and Public Affairs. We started together, we did phase 1. We have been struggling to make sure we bring back this process, that it is time for healing, it is time for national reconciliation, it is time for social cohesion building.
So the president said that making national cohesion is a priority for him, but probably someone might want to ask, how sincere is that call?
Well, the point is sometimes I'm sure he must be sincere in my view, because we met him as political parties way back 2 or 3 months again, and we flagged this issue. If you remember, if you look at even some of the newspaper, we had our press conference, for example, APA, where we say APA called for a national dialogue. And my brother can attest to that. We've been on this studio, we've been on several studios since September last year. But it has been a mature process. I've been part of a process where I was in McKinney deployed as a regional supervisor or coordinator to ensure that district consultation takes place in the north. And those district consultations might be interesting for you to understand the many issues that are coming up and the challenges that people face in terms of the increased tension and vulnerability of our society. I must be honest with you, the political climate is not conducive. And if it is not conducive, what are the consequences for attracting foreign direct investment? I'm also an economics, so I know the implication that until we deal with our relationship and the manner in which we live together politically and socially, then the consequences that in terms of international public trust in Sierra Leone may be under fire. And therefore that's why you see the exchange rate is increasing every day. Foreign direct investment is not coming as we feel. The mining sector having implications. People, are they investing? Are we seeing things? The exchange rate, the consumer price index, that's what we call consumer price, that is the indicator of how you measure living standards. I just saw the report from the Central Statistics Office with Professor Usman Sankor. It's not good in load. Kenema, for example, is recording 1.446 increase in percentage of national consumer price index, which means whether it's yabas, pepper, maggi, transport, it's a composite index, meaning people are living, when they say they go on dry, that's what it means. Do people have access to finances for their living? All of this, in my honest view, as somebody who works in democratic governance in the past and presently as a politician, the implication is that we need political stability through an enhanced taking stock of where we are in terms of building relationship and to enhance national integration and social cohesion.
Evan, do you share the same view?
Definitely, like I was saying when I was talking earlier on, coming together for a nation like Sierra Leone is a matter of must. And let me use this platform to make an appeal across the board. For far too long, we've been projecting certain interests. This time, let's make conscious efforts to project the national interest. It is in the interest of Sierra Leone for all of us to come together. It does not matter what view you are holding about the governance of the state. It does not even matter where you're coming from. what is important is we are under a particular umbrella, and that umbrella is the national flag, the green, white, and blue. And well, probably by way of education, when I say green, white, and blue, I'm referring to the leafy green, the white, and the cobalt blue, that which we received at independence. Let us become what? A united country under that umbrella. Let us speak with one voice. I know it's challenging, it's difficult, what we've gone through for the last 58 years, election after election, the things that are coming out, the kind of tension that you see, it is quite challenging. But let me bring in the family analogy. You have a particular house, you have a strong father and a mother who is also strong, and the children are there, they all have their views. But are they going to sit down and allow the family to be torn apart because of the differences in terms of their views? No. It's about keeping the family together. And here I'm talking about the Sierra Leonean family. That name should be paramount on our minds at a time like this. When you forget about the North, you forget about the South, the East, the West, or APC or SLPP or whatever the political party, and you think Sierra Leonean, put Salone first, it is going to make so much difference. And I'm reminded by those things that are there as our ideals. Take the national anthem, take the national pledge. We must at this time pledge our love and loyalty sincerely to Sierra Leone and put our interest above all else. I have been offended. You've been offended. We've exchanged negative vibes. But it is now time to say, as part of a family, let us forget about those things. There is nobody in this country, whatever group you belong to, that has not been offended in one way or the other. So it's like it's a collective ought that we're all experiencing. But in the interest of national unity and cohesion, let's put aside that ought. Let's take it away sincerely and say, you are my brother, I forgive you. And on that basis, we can move on together. But if we harbor the grudges, the malice, we entertain them, we're not going to move this nation forward. And of course, I don't want to ever sound as a prophet of doom, but that's just the reality. When we harbor those grudges, we slow down the progress of this nation. That idea on the other side that should have been brought to the table to move the nation forward it's not being brought forward. Somebody will keep and say, let them go ahead with whatever they are planning. I'm not interested because this is how I've been treated. But no, everybody suffers when things go wrong, and everybody will enjoy when we work together and allow the things to happen the way they should happen, like it's happening in other nations. Can I be honest with you? For far too long, the people of this country have been deprived of what I call the dividends of democracy. And we should take responsibility. That responsibility should not just rest on the shoulders of one person. It has to be all of us, all the different shades of opinion. Sierra Leone is a multi-ethnic society. For me, there is so much advantage in that. There are so many things that we can bring from such what people call divergence. We can bring good things out of that. And we want to tap into those good things about the difference that we have and put aside the negative things from those differences and make it work for our nation. We've looked at other countries. We've admired them. In fact, they started worse. You have nations that are making progress today. They don't have what we have. Mineral resources, marine resources, agricultural resources. They don't have anything. But they've made it. And today we admire them. And we have a base, we have a foundation. It is just about organization, coming together, putting aside the differences, and we'll see Sierra Leone picking up with speed.
All right, let me bring in Dr. again. Earlier, you stated that the political climate is not conducive. And some time back, we saw how MPs boycott State Opening of Parliament, opposition MPs. Does that indicate any gap in bridging a peaceful coexistence in a country?
Yeah, absolutely. The point is we have to look at two scenarios here. This is why we look forward to this national dialogue, because the question is it time for us to really take stock of where we are in terms of consolidating our democracy? Because that's the challenge, as my Reverend is saying. Even some people are saying, why do we need Bintimani 3? And I remember, because obviously I won't take myself off the conceptualization of the need for Bintimani 3. To make it simple for our people to understand, it doesn't mean that the team which we had in Bintimani 1 during retired Captain Valenta Strasser's era, and Bintimani 2, which was a simple referendum about peace before election, will be the same thing for Bintimani 3. The context changes. As we say, we are clear political parties. We have said this. We engaged with NCD, MPP a long time ago, that after the elections, there was time, we needed time. You had 16 candidates. Then you now have 17 political parties in this country. Then you have 23 tribes. If you check all of us who were candidates during the election, you find out that we belong to different regions and tribes. And sometimes people even say it's about tribal voting. No, I often argue that people vote based on proper representation. And if that is the case, once we go through elections, if, as Reverend is saying, if I win, does Reverend have the ability to reach out to his brother, Jonathan, Kande Yonkela, Sans Mana, it's Dr. Samura Kama, all of us, because we only have Project Sierra Leone. That's the spirit why I'm in this game. I'm not here to say, okay, one day if it's going to happen, I'll be president of Sierra Leone. Let that will be done. But it is very clear in our constitution, section 35(1), that you establish a group of people, establish political parties for 3 reasons. One is to mobilize the political ideology and share the will together with if you believe that Sierra Leone should be Project Sierra Leone. For example, the name of my party is National Unity and Reconciliation Party. Do you know where we picked that one together with my colleagues? I was in Rwanda 3 times because I was based in Kenya. For last year, 2 years ago, I was living in Rwanda. They have a National Unity and Reconciliation Commission. And there, how Rwanda, like Sierra Leone, went through this, why are they fast in terms of their economic transformation? Why was it slow? Because that's the answer. Because the National Unity and Reconciliation Commission, headed by Reverend Bishop, what they had done, you don't talk about tribe anymore. Hutu versus Tutsi, no way. It's gone. It is Project Rwanda. If they catch you, it's a state offense. So when they ask you, you are Rwandi. Because I give you an example. Yesterday, I think the president has done a reshuffle. Yeah. And in the reshuffle, somebody, I would not need a journalist, seasoned journalist in a newspaper, sitting in the Gambia, wrote an analysis for saying, oh, wait till happen is Sandy, they don't come back. What is wrong? I'm not saying, then that person went as far as and mentioned the Creoles. That the Creoles have been taken out of cabinet. And that George is now only a president. How many Creoles are there under? But the point I'm trying to say is, at what point do we move from tribal and regional campaign issues, and then focus on public policy issues and the efficiency of labor, effectiveness, who is competent? For example, I am Sandy, but I'm an opposition. Does that make sense? I know some of my brothers will say, why is he on the other side? Why is he? But that is because we believe in an ideology that there's a need for national unity and reconciliation in this country. So there is also, when you look at C4C, Tamba Sandy, it's also Sandy, but it's the chairman and leader of the Coalition for Change Party. I'm just saying we should stop hate. We should stop evolving tribalism deliberately into the political status platform. In that situation, we ourselves, the elite, We are responsible, even whether you're in the media field or you are part of political parties. Let us stop perpetuating. If we're analyzing cabinet, for example, those who are being appointed, forget about tribalism, forget about regionalism, and let us, at some point, yes, we can be sensitive to that in terms of regional balance and that, because that's what we mean by proportional representation. We will come there. That is one lesson we are saying. It's 1991 Constitution. When you talk about electoral models, first past the post, is it sufficient? Is that serving our interests? That's why we are interested in Bintimani 3. Let us go and take stock. The electoral model we are using, first past the post, the winner takes it on. Is it something to go? So that has it been leading to state capture, or what we call state organized criminals and that, which is happening in many other countries, by one tribe or region and that? Is it something we need to reflect on, identify lessons, and what are the challenges, and what kind of model do we need as we continue revamp the constitutional review process and leading to a referendum?
All right.
So that it can serve the interests of our people.
Building a national cohesion, it does not depend on the government alone. It's a collective effort. But you being a politician also, how can you describe the cooperation by politicians towards building a national cohesion?
There is one principle we have been stressing. When we meet the minister, I'm very grateful, Ambassador Fode Young-Keller and his team. From September, we rushed. If I was the political party first association, we met with Reverend Jibril and the ministry. No, so sir, we were that together. We said, look, we ourselves are coming. We need, whether a presidential summit at that time for post-2018, what we call healing and reconciliation, or we need a national dialogue on bringing us together. The principle we are here working with government, we said we're in partnership with you, with your agencies. It's partnership and synergy. What I am very much impressed with, we had a meeting yesterday, and I saw that I was present there with journalists, Abdurrahman and others were there. We re-emphasized that create the enabling environment. Government should create the environment and facilitate, seek the resources, but allow Sierra Leoneans to take ownership. And that's what we are stressing. You have to take ownership. Jibril has to take, Jonathan has to take over. Our brothers, they have to take ownership. So the basic principles of good governance and in the design of dialogue conferences of this nature, which I have done internationally as well, must be sensitive to the principle of partnership and creating the enabling environment. For example, if you define the role, what is the role of the government? You cannot do without the nation state. You cannot do without the government. But we have clearly said, can you facilitate and create the enabling environment? The enabling environment, government will definitely have to put money into this. Government will have to reach out to its development partners like UNDP, the European Union, and say, look, I need you guys to be here, or ECOWAS, or the UN, which I understand they'll all be here. So that once you create that enabling environment, this dialogue is about frank discussion. We do not want Reverend Jibril, myself, and the ministry, and other colleagues in political parties or civil society are not going to dictate now. Let's allow the environment where we can exchange. If we are going to throw tone at ourselves, but at the end of the day, we'll reach to build level of trust and relationship. That's how then we come out with a resolution that can see Sierra Leone to the future of our democratic governance for social cohesion and peace. That's why we are saying, people are saying the commission, yes, maybe that's an output. We can agree there. Do we really need it? But now we have been clear and told the ministry that, look, let the process evolve. People are conceptually, they are confused about Bintimani. And that's why I'm happy I told Abraham I will join my brother here. We should start the debate. We should start the education, public education, that we need Bintimani 3 because Sierra Leone is under fire. It's under fire in the sense that we are not together. We should not be hypocrite. There is a need for us to build that level of relationship and trust from every region and people, so that once we have Project Sierra Leone, we can all move. Whether we have 17 political parties, we have 23 tribes, once we come together, the question is, why has Sierra Leone economic transformation been slow? even when we have had multi-party democracy since 1996. So as he said, are we seeing the democratic dividends?
All right, let me bring in Reverend Jibrila. What is the NCD's view on the Bintu 3 initiative?
Definitely, when you consider the fact that for 1 and 2, we've been in charge, it means that we welcome the idea wholeheartedly. And we look at it from the perspective of what we call consultative dialogue. People coming together. And that coming together is significant for consensus. In a multi-party democracy, consensus is so important. And what I have done over time, in fact, I'm doing write-ups series. I've identified 10 issues that I think are, I call them challenges to our national unity and cohesion. I've dealt with the first 2 in terms of write-up. I might, if I have access to your box, I'll share that with you. I'm working on the 3rd part for now. But the issues that I am raising, number 1, how do we deal with ethnicism, tribalism, and regionalism? I've dealt with that. And in fact, my recommendation, because I've already written that, I'm saying, just like there was a time in America, when it came to the issue of gay rights in the military, there was a policy of don't ask, don't tell. And that's the same, I think, we can adopt in Sierra Leone about tribalism, like Doc just said, as it's happening in Rwanda. Don't ask me if you want to employ me. I'm a Sierra Leonean. Am I competent? That forms the basis for me getting a job or not getting a job. My tribe should not matter. And when we adopt that, it makes for what? A society where everybody embraces everybody. And I don't even have to think twice. Oh, I'm Kagbo and he's Sandy. How does that matter if the Sandy can deliver? And I also, there is need for us to also focus on what I call resource allocation, the lack of equity in terms of how we distribute such resources. No doubt Sierra Leone is a resource-rich nation, but we fought over the resources that we have. And we've blamed almost everybody and everything for the way things are. But where are we headed? Smuggling is there, bad policies. Can we just sincerely go to those policies and rewrite them from a Sierra Leonean perspective? And something that we just mentioned, which is so important, the existing electoral system, how that has affected national unity and cohesion. These are issues we need to look at. When you have a situation where the winner is the person in charge, he distributes, and there is nothing like, because when the other people who should come to cooperate with you, what they bring to the table is based on the fact that there is room for them, they are accommodated. But in our present electoral system, whoever goes to State House determines what happens to everybody, and that is part of the problem. And it is something, through such an arrangement, we need to look at it. When you look at Sierra Leone, and it's something that we need to address very sincerely, the issue of our literacy level and even lack of political education. It's so important, and at times, out of ignorance, people don't know. And you have others who communicate, they misinform. They say things out of the way. But if you have people becoming educated, we emphasize on education, and even political education, or what people might call civic education, we are going to change the narrative. I'm also looking at the negative influence of the old boy network, campus cult in respect of state capture. These are all things that have affected us as a nation. We also look at the influence of certain interests in the context of political parties, and the economy and the employment situation in the country. These are all issues that we must address through this kind of arrangement, and that is why Bintu 3 is so important. People might have their notions.
People are asking the question, what's the essence of the Bintu 3? Why do Sierra Leoneans need another conversation around national cohesion?
And that conversation should not end. You don't end a conversation when you've not solved the problem. You keep talking. As you talk, you refine the issues. You set the agenda. Certain things that should be adjusted, you adjust them as you go along. This is something that it's a daily business. Doc used the word. It's evolving, and we need to allow that process. And that is why we must not keep quiet. The conversation should be ongoing. It has to be ongoing, and everybody should be interested. We must avoid that idea of dismissing things when we bring them to the fore. Now these people are they don't program this. No, Bintumani 3 is for every Sierra Leone. In fact, yesterday on Movement, I recommended that we should take this program to every community radio station in this country. The people should know, and every group that is how do I put it? A legally registered group should show interest in this. Find your way to U building. Let the people who are organizing, let them know that you are interested in what is happening. Yeah. We're not going to get everybody to come to Bintumani, but at least every group can be represented. Every shade of opinion, the most critical, can be accommodated to ensure that we come together. And the message that should be paramount across the nation, it should be that Sierra Leone should be put number one, and let's put aside our differences. Let's work towards taking Sierra Leone to where it's supposed to be. Definitely the challenges are still going to be there, and that is why I'm emphasizing on what? Identifying those challenges and trying to overcome them. Because when we overcome them, we set the platform for the right things to happen and for Sierra Leone to move on. And just quickly to end, I have just identified 7. The 8th is the stratification of society with the emergence of a seeming class system. Now you see people, you have that us versus them. Those who are uneducated think, well, the problem is with the elite. And those who are the educated, they think, well, it is because of those people down there. That kind of thing, we need to bridge the gap and bring people together. And there's also this issue about the politicization of state institutions, especially the security sector. My dear, what we've seen over the years, the political party that is in power, that is the security forces, they assume the nature of the political party in power. If it is APC that's in power, everything about the police or the military, it's about APC. Now that SLP is in power, everything that they do, it's about SLPP. We must, in this dialogue, focus attention on how we get our serving men to be very professional. You don't get Donald Trump telling the U.S. Marine to just go on a particular raid without following proper procedure. No, you can't do that in the West. But in Sierra Leone, our fighting men, our men in uniform, they are vulnerable. They are exposed to so many things. But that should form part of the conversation. And the last aspect that I see as a challenge that we should overcome in terms of national unity and cohesion is a legal system that does not serve the ends of justice. Over time, we've cried about our justice system. Now that we are talking about Bintumani 3, these are issues that we must fix. We must set the stage, have a roadmap. Where are we headed? In fact, Bintumani 3 should feed into a grand national agenda in terms of what should be our long-term development goals.
Okay. All right, before we go for another answer, let me bring in Dr. What's your own view on that?
It is, like I said, this is an organic process. It's not going to be a one-off event. But one thing I'm very happy about is the fact that there's increased demonstration of political commitment from His Excellency and Cabinet and the Minister. And this was also, as you know, the state opening of Parliament. It was emphasized in the President's speech. So that is what I would call commitment, political commitment. Now, so which means that once we get to that forum, the President is there, Cabinet is there, Parliament is there, the democratic institution, particularly NCT and others are there, then I think I consider this process being launched. As Reverend says, when it is launched, then the conversation starts. Now, once the conversation gets on for 2-3 days, what do we expect out of that? Because we say it is very interesting. It's two concepts that we have brought together. We started with taking stock of our democratic governance, which NCD and the All Political Party Association and the ministry started. And then later, some of that process started with the Green Paper to bring peace and social cohesion. So that's why the theme now is, how do we get to democratic consolidation for peace and stability and social cohesion? That's the question we are going to interrogate. Because we have said Bintimani 1 was about, how do we negotiate to the rebel movement at that time when Valentine Strasser came in? Were we tired with military rule? And then Bintimani 2 came, which was a kind of pressure facilitated by the NCTDR and the INEC, the International Electoral Commission, headed by Dr. James Jonah at that time, to say, look, we need to go back for a referendum, simple referendum question. Fortunately, at that time, it was retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, His Excellency, was the head of state at that time. So we went simply with pressure from APA, pressure for NCD, civil society and others, but government through NCDHR and INEC created the enabling environment at that time. So we went to dialogue. At the end of the day, the resolution was, we need to usher in back multi-party democracy. We are tired of military junta. That's the logic. To put it simple, because the 1991 constitution had been suspended once 1992 coup d'etat took place. So the military National Provisional Ruling Council was there. But political parties, civil society, traders, the media, SLAG, everybody came together and said, look, we want to go to because, there was no parliament at that time. And therefore, what you needed was for the head of state at that time to get a convening power to make a rational decision. And the rational decision was around the referendum question. Do we want to pursue peace or do we want to have election? We all went there. The major resolution was that we want elections. And that brought in our democracy. So when we got our democracy in 1996 and the exit strategy, the military colleagues and Brigadier Maada Bio and others left. Now, we have had 5 to 6 national elections based on the 1991 Constitution. From 1996, we just had one in 2018. The question we're all going to ask ourselves, we brought in, usher in multi-party democracy. As we move towards consolidating our democracy, have we realized the benefit out of this? Why are we still divided? Why is the economic prosperity which we thought democratic governance can bring has not been yielded? How can we take stock? What are the enablers, the triggers, the causes, both structural and operational challenges Sierra Leone is faced with that we have not made process, like Rwanda has done, Angola has done, Cote d'Ivoire, they all went through war. Okay. But why have we been stalled in terms of our transformation? Yes, democracy is there. We are parties who now have 17 political parties. We're all interrelating. But as Reverend is saying, what are the triggers and enabler? Let the dialogue start. We can stimulate it, but there are more. They say the villager is expert in his own way. There is no way you can teach the villager what you don't know, even if you have all type of academic degrees.
Okay, let me hold you there, Doctor. Let's take a final news item for today. Now, stakeholders of the Madingo Union has officially presented the newly endorsed president of the Madingo Union, Alhaji Kanja Sise, to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Lawyer Buiwa, at his UI building office in Freetown. Here is the report.
Kanja Sise, the proposed Madinga chief of the Republic of Sierra Leone, as our chief. He is the custodian of Madingos in Sierra Leone and our tradition, of which I know you are part of it.
A tribe who very proud, like other tribes, they're very proud of their culture and their tradition. And therefore, we need to get a structure and a leadership system who will protect that culture and that tradition. Who publicly, everybody can, the chiefs they all can, they can openly and publicly declare their support and endorsement of me as the president of the union. One of the suggestions who don't come to me will at the very seriously consider for implement immediately in support of HE President Dio's flagship program in the area of education. And I must say, we own tribe. Plenty of we, I would say, guilty of dandy, early marriage at some point. We don't take up on we say in support of the president in the agenda. We can't put bylaws for they against for fine anybody who sent a Bikingo by early marriage before the stipulated government age, which is 18. That one we're going to make it policy, and we support them all over the country. The message don't begin to go, and then I clear support of putting the government things. We also support other areas where the government don't prioritize in support of the free education, but also in the human capital development as the president of that. In all of these, my operations, not to as minister, nobody not introduce me now as minister. I'm here purely as president of the union. Please feel free for pass your directives directly to me at any time. We're willing. You'll find us as a very willing tribe to cooperate with you as a ministry, or to cooperate with this government under the leadership, the able leadership of His Excellency, President Julius Maada Bio.
All the fine things that I don't say this morning, it pleased me heart. One of which is that as a tribe, when I don't decide amongst ourselves, nobody not force una for let una put down bylaws wey for guide una membership against early child marriage. This is one of the flagship of the president and the first lady of this country. We only hope that wetin una don't start so other tribes themselves will gather amongst them, they tie bond and agree that we serve inside we own tribe, we not go allow early child marriage for take place. The other tribes and they don't need for country we serve. They can gather no more amongst themselves and agree on that and they implement that. This tribal group, I don't want to call it tribes, this group are people that were peaceful, the Mandingos. They are law abiding. Very difficult for let's see a Mandingo man when a criminal. Although you want to see exception every day. Yes. So I know say at all times I will support this government agenda. And anything where when I get concerned about whether on our own tribe or issues generally in the country, and I always free for country.
Okay, well now let's round up with my guest here in the studio. Now I'll ask this last question. As a nation, we've got previous conference on peace and national cohesion, the Bintumani 1 and 2. Do you think this one, the Bintumani 3, will create any impact in us?
Yes, yes, I think, as I say, it's a process. What we particularly, from my party's perspective, political party's interest, is that we want definitely to see the outcome being adoption of a resolution or a communique that has a number of issues that can lead to the putting in place a national development agenda. Because as I say, as you listen to what Reverend was saying, some of these issues we can speculate in
Okay.
social science. Like, for example, understanding the challenges political parties are faced with in meeting the 1991 constitutional provision. How much recommendations can we come on that? Number two, all those issues you raised. Establishment of a Peace and Social Cohesion Commission. Is it something we all want? We can write as part of the resolution that, look, there are a number of trigger points. Do we have early warning system in this country? Because when you go to Ghana, in terms of the Peace Commission they have there, you go to Rwanda, many places are, as you know, this is some have been part of my job in the United Nations as well, in terms of governance and building national peace architecture.
Right,
So the point is, for example, when the Ebola was there, if we had a National Peace and Social Cohesion Commission, an early warning wing, can an early warning wing pick the nature of the threat and support those conversations? So I think that Bintimani one would only be, in my view, one, to demonstrate political commitment, two, to ensure that we come out with a clear resolution that can lead to a strategic national action plan on how we can do many things, and it's going to be an ongoing process.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Jonathan Sunday. Quickly, Reverend Jibrila.
Bintumani 3 should be a reality, and Sierra Leoneans should support this reality, and we must not see it from the parochial lenses. We must see it from the lens of what I call national interest. Everybody should make conscious effort to come on board. The organizers, be open-minded, provide the enabling environment, allow people to speak their minds on issues, and let's find a way to thoroughly document what people are going to say, and let that be disseminated across the country so that we will speak with one voice. And this time is significant regarding the fact that the level of awareness in the country, especially with social media, we must make use of this level of awareness and ensure we get it right. Of course, I know that we're going to have other conferences, but this is so pivotal.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Dr. Reverend Jibrila Kagwa and Dr. Jonathan Sunday, for taking part and being a guest in the studio today. Wish you all the best. And that's how we end the program. It has been an awesome week with you guys. I am Leonora Jawa, leaving you with an African proverb which says a set of white teeth does not indicate a pure heart. Join Abdulrahman Kamara on Monday for another edition. Stay blessed and have a wonderful weekend.
Starting